Suji Ke Laddoo or Semolina Laddoo. What you need is 1 cup of plain flour, 1 cup of besan or chickpea flour. I don't get normal plain besan flour here, so I use chickpea. 1 cup of suji or semolina. I actually use powdered semolina, so I don't have to grind it. Otherwise, you can use coarse semolina, roast it and then grind it. 1 cup of milk powder and 1 cup of raw sugar. Now the raw sugar I grind down. I don't use icing sugar. I think the texture comes out funny. But if you prefer to use icing sugar, I'd reduce it a little bit to about 3/4 of a cup rather than 1 cup. I'll need ghee for binding, and I've got half a teaspoon of elaichi, which I will grind down with my sugar. So what I'm going to do is just take that out and put that in there. So these three, the flour, the besan or chickpea flour, and the semolina needs dry roasting. So we'll go and dry roast these. The milk powder and the sugar doesn't need anything done with other than the sugar being ground down. I have my karai here on medium flame, which is heated up, and I will put my plain flour in. And I will just start dry roasting this. You can use a frying pan if you don't have a karai. It doesn't really matter as long as you've got a heat source under it. Okay, you can see my flour is now a light brown color. Turn the light down a bit, you can see it. It's a light brown color now. And that's all I want, just a light brown toasty color. You don't want to toast it any more than that. I'll take it out. I will now add my semolina. Turn my heat back on again just so that it doesn't burn. Add my semolina to this. Turn the heat back on. The last one to go in is besan. You can tell my besan is ready as well. It's gone brown and it's starting to burn, so you don't want it to burn. That's it, all done. The next part for me is to grind my sugar. So the cardamom is in there, like I put it in before. So my ground up sugar or my powdered sugar is in here. And what I'm going to do is sieve everything else. So I've got toasted besan or chickpea flour in here. Toasted plain flour. Suji toasted or semolina. Just start with that at the moment. You just need to sieve it. Can you see there's lumps in it? You want your flour to be smooth. And then lastly, just the milk powder to go with it. In a pot, you want some ghee. So this was the ghee that I made the other day. And I'm just going to take some out. The quantity of ghee just depends on your mixture. I don't have a quantity for this. So all you need is some warmed up ghee. And yes, for those that want to question it, my ghee is actually that yellow. Okay, I'm just going to warm this up on the stove. You can obviously warm it up in the microwave. You want it to be just a little warm enough for you to handle, not hot. But it definitely needs to be warmed up ghee. Okay, so my ghee is warmed up. I can put my pinky finger in it and it's not going to burn, but it is definitely warm. So what I'm going to do is move most of my mix to one side. Okay, and what I want to do is put a little bit of ghee on, not too much, so enough to bind it basically. So you want to start on one side and mix it in. What you want to do is when you do that, it binds. You might put a tiny splash more, and I mean a little bit. Okay, and start binding it. If it doesn't bind, like I can see mine's not binding, so it's too dry. Tiny bit more ghee. If you've got too much ghee, pull some dry mixture in. If you haven't got enough, then add a little bit more. Okay, stick that. So what you got to do is make it into round balls. Size is up to you. You can't roll it. You can't do this and roll it. It'll fall apart. What you want to do is basically squeeze it together. And they don't need to be perfectly round balls. Just doesn't come out like that. There's one. There. Do my next one. I'm feeling that's a little bit too big, so take a little bit off. So there we have it, Suji Ke Laddoo, all made. There's about 30 of them in there.